it doesn't matter too much whether we have a deal or whether we charge them a certain tariff.
Trump's double standards are in full view. India's response has laid bare the hypocrisy. He is accusing India of funding Russia's war, while America's own trade with Moscow keeps growing. Let's look at the numbers from this year. US imports from Russia are increasing. We're talking about 2025. We're talking about the period when Donald Trump had already taken charge. This is with Trump as president. Between January and May this year, American imports from Russia have increased by 23%. And what is the US buying from Russia? Metals like palladium. These imports have jumped by 37% in 1 year. Then we have uranium. Uranium imports from Russia have increased by 28%. And fertilizers have gone up by 21%. In 2024, the US imported goods worth $3 billion from Russia. 90% of these imports are strategic. They're needed in sectors like energy, agriculture, and defense. And the US is buying them in large quantities. Take the case of fertilizers. Until May this year, the US had bought Russian fertilizers worth more than $800 million. That's a 60% increase from 2021. Then there is uranium. The US is buying uranium from Russia to fuel its nuclear reactors. And this is where Washington's hypocrisy becomes impossible to ignore. In 2022, they banned Russian crude and LNG. They sanctioned most Russian energy firms after the war began, 2022. Last year, they banned imports of enriched uranium. But they conveniently left loopholes. Companies were allowed to apply for waivers, and this route is open until 2028. So importers are using it, of course. They're seeking waivers and they're trading with Russia. In fact, America's uranium imports have jumped substantially. They have nearly tripled since 2021. And it's the same story with the European Union. They have imposed sanctions and left loopholes that suit them. Brussels has left a door open for Russian products. Their sanctions have a range of exemptions, from pharma and medical products to agriculture and food, and of course, energy. Again, let's look at the numbers. The EU-Russia trade data from last year. The European Union and Russia, their goods trade stood at over $70 billion, 70. Their services trade in 2023 was worth $18 billion. Now compare this to India's trade data. Last year, India-Russia trade was valued at almost $69 billion, which is far less than Europe's numbers. In other words, European trade with Russia far exceeds Indian trade with Russia. Yet their lectures continue. And oil is the biggest point of contention. That's all that the Western powers can talk about. They call Indian oil purchases immoral. They claim India is funding the Russian war machine. And this pressure campaign began in 2022, right after Russia attacked Ukraine. But by the following year, in 2023, the perception shifted. The tone began to change because India accepted a price cap. India bought Russian energy at a lower rate. It followed the price cap set by the West, by the G7 and the European Union. And this kept global energy markets stable. It ensured that Russia's energy revenues remained restricted. Back then, the West was the driving force behind this. It endorsed the price cap. American officials hailed India's position. Officials like Eric Garcetti praised New Delhi. You just heard from him. He was the US ambassador to India. And here's what he said last year. They bought Russian oil because we wanted somebody to buy Russian oil at a price cap. That was not a violation. It was actually the design of the policy because as a commodity, we did not want oil prices going up, and they fulfilled that. So the West supported India's oil purchases, but now 6 months into the Trump presidency, the old complaints are back. He's bringing back the same agenda, the same talking points, only this time they're louder. With Trump threatening more tariffs on India. This is not about peace in Ukraine. This is about Trump's politics and Western hypocrisy. The West sets the rules, breaks them at will, and then demands accountability from others.